So our next topic that we're gonna kind of get into is the most disappointing teams. I mean, we've had a lot of teams that had high expectations heading into the season. From the Raiders with their new head coach and obviously their new personnel. They were able to get Devontae Adams. They were able to get Chandler and um, Chandler Jones, and it's just I don't know what's going on there. It just seems to like I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know if it's the quarterback, a combination of both.
Yeah, it's it's
So
it's
yeah,
rough. I mean, for them to play so bad, it's very confusing. I mean, look, people have their a lot of different polarizing and divisive opinions on Derek Carr. At the end of the day, that guy has been able to put up numbers and throw the ball well enough
hmm
that they should be able to win some games, and they can't. Instead they go and they lose to another team that is also disappointing in the Colts. They
hmm
bring in Jeff Saturday off his couch at home,
gets it done on a Sunday.
and he gets it done. After there's the graphics of him talking about how bad the Raiders are, like a week and a half, 2 weeks
He,
before he ends up coaching the Colts and beating them.
he
You
said
know,
they're terrible. He said the Raiders are terrible, and then he gets off his couch and beats them on a Sunday.
yeah. After everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people wanted to take shots at Jeff Saturday and talk about how he's so unqualified, how it's shameful that this is able to happen.
Right.
Look, this guy just came in and won a football game. You know what I mean? It just seems very odd. Like, I get it. Like, when the hire happened, it was certainly out of nowhere.
No.
But when you look at a guy like Jeff Saturday, a a top tier kind of guy,
One
uh,
of the best centers.
yeah, he's like a Hall of Fame worthy type player. Certainly one of the best players in that Colts franchise's history.
And played
But
alongside one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time
he
in
he
Peyton
he, he
Manning.
was around Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison and Dwight Freeney and and Mathis and on
Bob
and on.
Sanders,
Bob
the
Sanders,
list goes
Edgerrin
on and on.
James, and
Reggie Wayne.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, look, he played with a lot of greats. The Colts as a team, as a franchise, have been a pretty well oiled machine in terms of always being one of the better franchises, similar to like a team like the Steelers
Yeah.
and the Packers,
Where
and
they're
yeah,
consistently
where they're
good.
consistently
Yeah.
good. And so if you're Jim Irsay, he probably said to himself, "Look, these guys that we're bringing in here, they just don't get it. They don't
Yeah.
get how things need to be in this building. Let me bring in somebody who can at least do that."
You know what kind of stood out to me when I was watching, because I watched a little bit of the game. When I was watching the Colts Raiders game, they had an identity, and
Hmm.
all season long, we there was games where Jonathan Taylor, who just came off of a stellar year last year, he's gotten like maybe 5 or 6 carries. It's like, why are you giving a back that takes time to? He's Jonathan Taylor. He's not a back. I mean, yeah, you might hand it off to him and he might break a 60-yard run, 50-yard run, but he's kind of similar to Derrick Henry, where it's like you have to. He's a volume
Yeah, you
runner.
want to you
You
want
have
to
to
get them
keep
to wear
feeding
out
him.
the defense. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they got Matt Ryan and they got kind of pass heavy, and it's like they were like, oh well, let's kind of, and it's just like, come on, man. So I mean, it's just it's weird because the Raiders have all the personnel and all the pieces to do something, but I mean, it is what it is, and so yeah.
Yeah. Some other teams that we could run through real quick. The Packers, they get the big win against the Cowboys, but there's no question they've been disappointing before that. Maybe that is the win that kind of is able to turn this team around. But for sure, the Packers need to do something because their season is kind of slipping away from them. The Cardinals, um, look, I mean, they have Kyler Murray there. Something seems to be pretty off.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean, and it probably won't get better since this
Nah.
thing is just out and still around. So, yeah, but Kyler Murray is getting all angry at his teammates. He's getting angry at
Pointing the
coaches.
finger, not taking accountability.
Yeah, and for a guy in Kyler Murray, I mean, look, he gets a lot of criticism, but when you watch that guy play, I mean, he's still able to do some amazing things on the
Right.
football field. I think it would be stupid to count this guy out,
Yeah, for sure.
regardless of what's going on. But yeah, something is going on with that team that they gotta figure out, and they gotta get some things fixed. And then the Rams. I mean, look, and the Rams, they don't have all the drama, but we even seen Jalen Ramsey come out now. He says, yeah, it's the offenses was holding us back. Cup is now out on the IR.
Yeah, that's a huge loss.
Cup is like the one bright spot for them. And yeah, Stafford just hasn't been playing well. Now he doesn't have Cup to lean on. It just seems like the Rams season is kind of just done
Yeah.
at this point. Cooper Cup going to the IR kind of is the last nail in the coffin for this team. Pretty much now you just eat. Look, I know there's still a lot of games to be played, but it just seems like you're just do what you do this year, whatever. Worry about
We'll
next
figure
year.
out, yeah.
Sadly enough, they trade all their picks, so
Yeah, it's not much that you
I
could
don't
really
even know off the top of my
bank
head
on.
who has their pick, but they're probably gonna be picking in the top 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You would think they would considerably have a Super Bowl hangover, but it's like completely opposite. They're still struggling. They haven't been able to get their run game going. There's been some questions with Cam Akers and his health, and Henderson has obviously handled most of the load, but it's also again it's kind of weird to see from a Sean McVay offense because we know how creative he is offensively and how his offensive mind works. So yeah, I mean I would kind of mark their season up as kind of done at this point, especially with how strong that division is.
yeah, and it's tough though because obviously they go and they win the Super Bowl last year,
No.
and in some ways, almost whatever they needed to do to
To
get that
chip. Yeah.
seems validated. But on the flip side now, okay, you let Von Miller go. OBJ is not in there back with you.
Yeah.
Stafford seems to have taken a step back. You traded away a lot of your picks. You overloaded a bunch of salary to be pushed back and back and back. So it's like when you have a year like this right after the Super Bowl, it's very not good for very
Yeah.
not good. But
I mean it's yeah,
but yeah,
that is-
it pretty much is very not good to
Right,
be in
right.
this position because draft wise,
you traded
trade your
draft
picks, you
capital.
don't get to benefit from being towards the end of the standings
And there's
because
so much uncertainty on that
yeah,
team.
because look, when you're we've seen it with other teams like for instance the Spurs, they're
Mhm.
able to go and get Tim Duncan in a year where their guys are injured on a down year, even though they're a solid franchise, but they're able to reap the benefits because they have that pick,
Right.
and they grab Tim Duncan, and then they go on a dynasty run, right?
Right.
But when you do too much, you have to be careful because you're kind of stuck. And then we're not even talking that much about the salary cap implications
Yeah.
of all these guys who they just keep pushing back more years, more years, more years. Some point you gotta
You gotta
pay
pay
the
'em.
bill,
Yeah.
and you're gonna probably be stuck with a really bad team
Yeah.
for a few years if you can't pull some magic off. So
Right.
yeah.
So we'll see what happens with them towards the end of the year, and hopefully they have some positive to take away from this season.